And recording the stream. Here we go. It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's Norm Ordez.
That's right. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Clubhouse Chatter on this cloudy Thursday morning up here in the beautiful Eola Hills outside Amity, Oregon. That was producer Brian, and producer Brian's along for the ride. And so our first guest this morning is, I don't know, I guess you could call him maybe our resident GM, but he is the former general manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Mr. Fred Clare. Mr. Clare, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Norm. Thank you.
Can we call you Clubhouse Chatter's resident GM?
If you would like, I don't hold any other GM position, so if you want to make me the resident, that's fine with me.
All right, that sounds good. So we just had the trade deadline a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember, growing up, back in the 70s and the 80s, that trade deadline was like what it is today. I mean, do you recall, Mr. Clare?
Well, it's certainly different for a variety of reasons. That being said, and I'm not quite sure how you differentiate this year from past years, but there clearly was some significant activity that took place. So it's like all things in life and business, it's a changed world, but this one produced some interesting stories and some interesting transactions. It
was crazy. And it's I don't know, it just seems different the last few years, and there's more media coverage of it. This year the action was hot, and there was some teams who you think that they would make some moves, but they didn't. And the Dodgers were one of them. And so my question for you is, number one, what is it like being a GM at the trade deadline? I mean, crazy. Does your phone go off at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? What is it like?
Well, it's an incredibly busy time. It's an incredibly important time. And, what you're really looking at, which is rather basic, is that, if you're in contention, and we were fortunate to be in contention during almost all the years that I was with the Dodgers, what do we do? What can we do to make our team better? I mean, that's pretty basic, but that's what you're striving for. The difference in today, as I see it and look at it, and clearly the communication has changed, because in my days, text messaging and email wasn't there, so a lot of that, the technology has changed the way of communication for the teams and the general managers, as it's changed all of our lives. But I think the most dramatic part of this, Norm, when you really focus on it, is the structure of the competition has changed. That is to say that with two teams in each league competing for the wild card, look at the number of teams that you have in contention. You have those teams that are leading their divisions, and then you have those teams in each league that are involved in the wild card. And that number would represent more than half of the teams in Major League Baseball. So it changes the dynamic of it. The other dynamic that I think has changed significantly, and there's no question about this in my mind, is there's more parity in the game than there has ever been. There aren't the dominant teams that once existed. And if you look at the standings today and the league division leaders in each league, I would challenge one to say, where are the dominant teams? And actually, the Dodgers clearly are one of the stronger teams. I mean, you can look at it as far as talent, you can look at it as far as winning percentage. But the Dodgers, and this was well covered in the Los Angeles media, is that they made the decision, and it's understandable, perhaps debatable, but understandable from their standpoint, not to give up their top young talent, because with the parity, the teams value greatly the young talent that they have in their system, because they see those players as the players of the future, the players where there's some control over the financial aspect of the contract. So those are the dynamic at work. That being said, we had two premium left-handed pitchers traded, with Detroit and Oakland acquiring Price and Lester, and certainly in major moves. But the players involved in the deals, Norm, the players involved in the deals, what's different is that there weren't a lot of top prospects being traded. And in fact, what you had, and even in the two deals that I cited, what you had were players who were more established and more years of service. So
right.
It's all changed. But the good part for baseball, and I'll stop rambling on here, the good part for baseball is that the interest remains incredibly high. The coverage that you cite is absolutely true, because with the internet, with the media covering the game, has been great. And what's really been great is to see the interest in the game as reflected by certainly attendance, television ratings, coverage. The game is healthy, and that's all to the plus side.
So let's talk a little bit about David Price, for example. So if you were the Dodgers GM today, would you have pulled a trade with Jock Peterson and a couple of other guys for David Price?
I wouldn't even dare go there. I think Ned Colletti is a very capable guy. The last person in the world that you will ever find second-guessing any move by a general manager is me. Lived in that seat, know what it's all about, respect the people who have those positions. So in no way in the world, they know far more about their talent, their needs, their situation. So that's up to others. That's not up to me to question, to second-guess, or really to even comment other than in a general way of what's happening in the game itself.
Right. So now Major League Baseball gets a new commissioner today. I haven't heard at this point if they've decided. There's also talk of Major League Baseball going to Europe. And I know that you're associated with the New Zealand project, baseball going on.
That is correct.
Do you think that Major League Baseball in Europe, do you think that's a great idea?
I do. I think the expansion of baseball is a great idea. Baseball, and having been involved and fortunate to be involved with the Dodgers for 30 years, no team in the history of baseball, and this is due to the O'Malleys, was more involved in the interest in international baseball. Walter O'Malley, who took the Dodger teams to Japan. Peter O'Malley, who built a diamond in China years ago. So I think the greater of the expansion of the game, the more growth in the game, and this is something that the Players Association as well as Major League Baseball agrees upon. That's why you have the World Baseball Classic. The world is shrinking, and we need to continue to grow with the game, and that's why I'm involved in Baseball New Zealand. Baseball is reasonably new to New Zealand.
Right.
Ryan Flynn of Baseball New Zealand, who asked me to come aboard as a special advisor, is doing a tremendous job. You've got the New Zealand team competing today as we speak in the Cal Ripken Youth Series. They're doing a tremendous job. Great athletes in New Zealand, athletes to go into other sports. Let's bring that talent. Let's bring those young people into our game. And so I'm all in favor of the expansion of baseball. I would not be surprised one day to see a team in Mexico, to see a team in Japan, to see a team in Europe.
I agree. I like the idea. Brian, what do you think? Do you like that idea?
I think it's a great idea. Baseball can definitely grow and get more people, and you've got a lot of people in that area who love baseball. Why not bring it to them and bring them to us?
Absolutely.
Well, baseball has always grown. Think about it. Years ago, there was not a team west of St. Louis. When I was a young guy in college, I wrote an article that Baseball Magazine published titled "Make Way for the Coast Blade." You can find this online. My premise, my theory, I was probably 17 years old at the time. My theory was that the West could support Major League Baseball, that there should be a team in Los Angeles, that there should be a team in San Francisco, that there should be a team in San Diego, that there should be a team in Oakland, that there should be a team in Seattle. Look what's happened. Think about it. There was a time before the Dodgers and the Giants moved west that there wasn't a team west of St. Louis. So those who said at that time, and I've lived long enough that it doesn't seem like it was all that long ago, were blind to the possibilities of growth. Whatever business that you're in, you have to grow. You have to develop. You have to be a visionary. Walter O'Malley was a visionary. He saw what could happen with the growth of the game, and that's what's happening today. I applaud it. I want to see it continue.
Wow, that is true, though. I mean, I'm excited for the growth. I'm excited, for China, getting involved in Japan. And I mean, I watch what's going on in Israel, and I watch what's going on in New Zealand, and I see the game growing, and it's awesome. It's awesome. We talked to Mr. Richard Stanley here a couple of weeks ago, who's in with the Uganda Little League, and those kids, they can play some baseball.
Sure.
Over there, they're pretty dang good, and they've come a long ways in such a short time. And so, is there one or a couple of moves that when you were GM with the Dodgers, coming down to the trade deadline, is there like a move that you maybe regret not making? Maybe there was something in the works and it didn't happen, or was there some, Did you have something brewing that you kind of wish would have?
Well, in most of those years, and the good thing about baseball is everything falls to a record. Everything ultimately falls to something that can be verified and looked up. I tried to add players who could help us. I think in almost all of the years, there were players that there weren't any major deals that were made at the trading time, because think about it, when you're in contention, you're walking a fine line. You want to help your team, but you don't want to give up a proven part to your team.
Right.
One of the trades that I made, I can't recall the exact date. Well, actually, let's go back in time to talk about a trade that presented itself at the trading deadline that I believe had significance for our team in winning the World Championship. So in my first year in 1987, we were not in contention. I had taken over in April of that year. We were a number of games under 500. We were not contending, but I had conversations with Sandy Alderson, who was then the general manager of the Oakland team. Sandy was looking, his team was in contention in 87. He was looking for a left-handed pitcher. And we had a left-handed pitcher. He's now the pitching coach of the Dodgers by the name of Rick Honeycutt. Mm-hmm. And so Sandy and I talked, and we talked about Rick Honeycutt. And so I had our scouts out looking at Oakland's teams, and particularly their team in Tacoma. And we identified a young right-handed pitcher that we thought had a great upside. And we made the trade and traded Rick Honeycutt for Tim Belcher. Tim Belcher, as Casey Stengel used to say, you can look it up, played a incredible role. I'm not sure, in fact, that we win the World Series in '88 without the work of Tim Belcher. So it was a chance as a non-contending team to trade a veteran pitcher, Rick Honeycutt, and acquire a pitcher who was just at the outset of his career. Another trade, and I guess it was there was a year later when we were in the hunt of '88. We ourselves now need a pitcher, and I'm looking for a veteran pitcher. And I made a trade with the St. Louis Cardinals. We gave up a player who had good power, was a productive player, Pedro Guerrero, but we acquired John Tudor, who helped us win the World Series in 1988. So there were many trades through the years. It really depends upon the position that you were in. As I say, we were fortunate. In most of the years we were contending. So we added different pieces to the puzzle, but not major deals. But when you're in that position, that's what you're juggling. You don't want to give up, just as the Dodgers this year. You don't want to give up a premium prospect if you feel that you've got a chance to win. The Dodgers have to feel, and they certainly have every right to feel, that they're going to win their division, that they're going to be in postseason play. And, in fact, I think they've got an excellent chance to win the World Series, and no one is pulling for them harder to win the World Series. I don't want to be identified as the last general manager to win a World Series as the Dodger general manager. I want the Dodgers to win this year, and the fans deserve it. The organization deserves it, and I hope that's what happens.
I agree. Even as a Giants fan working, in the Giants organization, you know what? I mean, it's time. It's been a while. And so you chatted about 1988. And so I'm curious of the Kirk Gibson home run. And what was, I remember watching it on TV, and I was living in Palm Springs at the time, and I was coaching high school football at a Desert Christian High School out in Indio, Bermuda Dunes area. And the head football coach, good buddy of mine, Ken Kirkwood, calls me up, and he says his son is calling the home run. And Gibby walks up and hits that, memorable home run. What was that like, just to be there and be a part of that?
Well, Norm, I'll tell the story. I'll have to end with this story because I've got a call that's going to be coming in here. But the Kirk Gibson home run was really in many ways reflective of the incredible season that Kirk had. It turned out to be a most valuable player season. I don't know that there's ever been a free agent signed who went on then in that year to win a most valuable player, but Kirk did, and he deserved it. I think it's pretty well documented that Mel Didier, one of our scouts, we had several scouts scouting Oakland. It wasn't just Mel. We had Phil Regan. We had Jerry Stevenson. We had Steve Boros. We had wonderful, wonderful scouts working for us at that time. And Mel, it's pretty well documented, made the call that with Eckersley on the 3-2 count, you could get a backdoor slider. He told that to our team. That scouting report, I believe, now rests in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And, it came down to the 3-2 count, and Kirk hit a home run that certainly, if not the most memorable home run in World Series history, it's got to be close to the most memorable home run in World Series history. So it was tremendous. A tremendous accomplishment by a great competitor in Kirk, and certainly something that propelled us to win a World Championship. And the best part of all of that, Norm, was in winning that World's Championship, it got us back into a position where we needed to be as far as reestablishing the Dodgers at that time after a couple of down seasons. So memorable in so many ways, and Kirk was a great contributor to us. So all good memories, Norm, and good to catch up with you once again.
Well, definitely. Thank you for coming on, and we hope to catch up with you again sometime soon. And once again, Mr. Fred Clare, former GM of the LA Dodgers. Mr. Clare, you have a great day.
Take good care, Norm.
All right, thank you very much.
Bye.
So once again, Mr. Fred Clare, man, where does the Kirk Gibson home run rank amongst all the most memorable sports moments? I mean, for me, Brian,
it's right up there.
Number one's a given. And as far as I'm concerned, it's probably number one for most sports fan, and that was 1980 when the U.S. hockey team knocked off the Soviet Union in the Olympics.
Do you believe in miracles?
I mean, to this day, I still get goosebumps over that. And was it Marv Albert that called it? Do you believe in miracles?
Not Marv Albert, Michaels.
Yeah, there we go. And so
Al Michaels,
that's right. And man, that's number one. But where does the Gibson home run rank? For me, that's up there.
I think it depends where you live too and who you're rooting for.
And I remember it. I remember Kirkwood calling me up and saying, "My boy is calling Gibson to hit a home run." I'm like, "Are you crazy? He could barely walk." And there he goes. It's gone. And so, one of the greatest. So, once again, Mr. Fred Clare, our resident GM, and we're going to take a break. We're going to come back about 10 o'clock, and we'll have former New York Met farmhand Lenny Langlois coming on. You don't want to miss Lenny. Lenny is a smart baseball guy, and we're going to talk about the upcoming playoffs. We're going to talk about Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper made it in the news about dragging his foot across the A in Atlanta. I don't think it's a big deal. We'll get Lenny's take on it. He loves talking about Bryce Harper. I'd like to thank our sponsors. Go to baseballism.com. Buy some stuff. Go to the checkout. Type in Clubhouse Chatter. Boom, you get 15% off. Also, Base by Pros, Mitch Canham, who's a catcher with the Harrisburg Senators. With Base by Pros, his dad, Mark Canham, does our shirts, and with MDM Design. Also would like to thank Proper Cuts Barbershop on Baker Street with Carlos and the boys. They do my hair. And Carlos is out camping, so I missed a haircut this week. We're part of the 980 Know-It-All crew. We stream live on Yamhill Today every week. Thank you for Brian on that. And Baseball Dudes, baseballdudes.com. Check them out. And we'll be back.